tanda tangpo ngarang sidin sondip ke lamen nanjur ke longje dengke yen la tene teya tanda chitang ke longse na tene ta drag junje sinap ke junda wojere la tene te lamati ke den tene lomati ke nye tene nye nawa khalne hindu jipega ta sala ge jenda bojela tini tela misal ge mirem dabota jerem dabo kaya yo marela tini te kohon number top go ni ta tambe junyo solemba ta tini guru rinpoche ge sonde lamen nanjor la zengi yen teacher de la longshu ge yen samba nane sen naro che.
Rinpoche will begin by reciting the reading transmission for the 7-line Guru Yoga of Guru Rinpoche. Now, when we talk about a reading transmission, or lung in Tibetan, when we talk about a reading transmission, it's like the flow of blessings. And so it is like blessings that are coming into your ears. And so a flow of blessings that goes from the Lama's mouth and into your own ears. And as that flow of blessings goes, there is not any particular visualization, nor is there any particular creation phase or anything that you need to meditate upon. But it is important that you keep pure, utterly pure motivation as you listen to this. And so think to yourself, think to yourself that you want to be diligent about this practice of the 7-line Guru Yoga of Guru Rinpoche, and that you want to attain the benefits of it for the benefit of all sentient beings. And with that motivation, please listen to the reading transition.
Chidin zonde don derbe lamen nanjur chenla chambe yo so aron le tamala ne bendagaro ujin timi dana goye so tingzap yen lo je den chu kon we uzo renjen be don dab je den jamne gundu ujin do je jong zembe banbar so jala yom don tra chaye do je yembe devon na dar don renjen rube jen jen ze wenge lona de jen ze zemba Korda zasam janzo dendra da janla tuji charje charmbe dala ze jage ngo chime yeke guru dunju drop teja da dan za ludon no je duzam geve zo gonzon je be denda minembul to me neza di don maluga Sije Jalwa Gunje Yendenje Chabda Jibung Gumbu Namdrala Nine Yeron Tebe Zoronde Yen Sabje Juje Jarje Bepara Golorun Geve Ngubo Gan Dam Ne Rohum Janzo Jeze Neja Bangambo Jeja Namdra Jini De Kajandro Wan Dembe Dandong Jamne Gundun Chense Derjimbo Dungi Nime Jamjorun Bo Jenga Dugube Nargin Dungu Sonde Pola Zewe Tuje Gong Gombe Lone Tuje Zalzang Lamu Den Dage Nila Sinje Lo Nga Sinje Lo Tadong Zema Nyurdo Demba Dong Judong Dumong Udo Zaldo Hong Ujin Yujen Nuzong Zambe Ma Kesara Dombo La Yan Sen Chugan Udo Nye Be Manjun Ne Kiso Dong Kordon Kandro Mombu Kurche Jiso Dodo Sinche La Cherke Zosong Goro Be Ma Se De Wang Ye Se La Zidin Sonde Jini Sondan Muguji Solvata Bela Maya Yang Je Johnson Don Tugani Ki Je Vezre Na Nga Pata Jone Ronge Ningratin Beji Sinche La Barasa Bezrangoro Jere Da Lamene Son Yin Yigen Dosom Le Vezre Karmarate Son Sonis Ranganism Timbe Gosum Jedon Gosum to Jedo Jirjor Antarnella Man Korje Vedo Kamarati Le Hongen Sembar Ranganingratim Bela Medoron San Yerme Lenji Chukro Ne Hije La Yenej Chukrune He La Yene Jujur Monon Lende Baronga Senye Deme Jugojim Rangelta Larian Jume No Adam Jelame Rongin de la Gewang Hiba Jebe de Leso Chao Hiba Tamje Dul Hebe Rogin Dave Yerse Jela Serap Tamje Dongor Bemetin the Melam de Ba Number Jerve Jensole Jungageo Sarva Mongalam Gavande Nurdo Ujin Lamandu Junin Roachi Jomalu Bati Salang Parahu Tatiga Longte Pulsawing.
That completes the reading transmission.
Tene Tatanda Mundrola Chitanga Tatanda Marik Mesilka Take Telang Mundrotan Nuyetan Jeje Chogate number some Yepenane Mundrola that Desin Juni that was that Chuntin Juni Chuntin Dam Mixing Juni number 10 now Lati Juni de Truparella Tangu Yere. The Nichitang Nguigi like Hine, Tatichitang Tangaran Stombo, Hine gum, the Lontong gum, Ta Chitanga Paru to Simba Tugong the Sena, the something Japaru to Simba, Hira Japaru to Simba Nirella. The Hira something Japaru to Simba, the Hinegan number, the Hira Japaru to Simba, the Lontong number la, Gongi or Ella. Tene ta tele tombo ta hine gongi ore la tene hine la chitang tene ta luje yudang ta semje yatap de number ni ore la tinane tangbo luje dudang de la kogi ore.
In the text, the Illuminating the Darkness of Ignorance, there are the preliminaries. So there are the preliminaries, the main part of the practice, the actual body of the practice. It's translated here as, and the post practices or the follow up. And so of these three sections, we have completed the first section, the preliminary practice, and the preliminary practices. There are 12 different sessions or 12 different points, 12 different sessions, and we have completed the and we have completed these two. And so next comes the main practice or the actual body of the practice, and this main practice has two different parts. It has the part on tranquility meditation and the part on insight meditation. And so first we need to meditate on tranquility. And then we need to meditate upon insight. And so in terms of the 6 transcendences, the 6 paramitas, in terms of the 6 transcendences, the meditation on concentration, the 5th transcendence of concentration or meditative concentration, is the practice of tranquility primarily. And the 6th transcendence, transcendent full knowing, is the practice of insight. And so first we have the practice of tranquility meditation. And for tranquility meditation there are for tranquility meditation there are 2 parts. There are the way we sit with the body and then the ways we rest the mind. And so of these, first we have the discussion of the ways we sit with our body.
Tene teya tanda luje ni de ta zo ngaran su tingen zen gam bekap sala tene zo semje ni de sem ni de gam sem de zo che ge yore ta jitang ge ta gam jung ki hira ye jewar se pala lantong tingen zen gam gu yore ganggu yore te ina te sem te tempo che me na tene gangjung ki hira te che tu yo marela te le tombo sem te temburndo ki se to la hine ganggu yore ta hine te den da bu che imbe chana hine ganggu yore la tene hine gangbu ka so la zo sem te ne gu yore te ina ya ta lu sem ni la nderba yore la tene ta kitang lu de la sem de temba yimbe cherna lu de ya ne do namba je je na de sem de tembur ne pe tap che par to papa yimbe cherna de ne lu ni de jagu yore.
In terms of the posture of the body, when we are meditating, what is of primary importance is, of course, our mind. The points of the mind are most important. And when we are meditating, what we want to do is to develop the full knowing that is born of meditation. And this is primarily born of insight meditation. And yet, in order for this to arise, our minds need to be stable. If our minds are not stable, then this will not arise. And so, for that reason, first we need to stabilize our minds. We need to pacify our minds by meditating upon tranquility meditation. And this tranquility meditation is like the seat on which the insight is based. Now, for this tranquility meditation, of course, again with tranquility meditation, it is the mind that is of primary importance. However, the body is also important because the body and the mind are connected. And so if the body is in a nice, stable position, then the mind will also be able to rest stably. And so for this reason, it is important that we have a comfortable and stable posture to sit in.
Tene ta te ya semje nong to gen jwa nong to ge yongul te ya ta te zawa long la te ne yong ge yo la tene te jen de lu jing gur je te ya tene long la te ne yong ge yo re ta long te la long rak pa ta long chawa ta nga ra so na ne o ju ge long ta te jen do lu yongul se pe ge long ta tene te jen do chawa sen yongul se pe ge long te ta long ten zo ji tang ge long chawa ta rak pa yo re te yin na ya te long chawa ta rak pa ten zo len der ba yo la tene ta teacher na tanda lu ne ya bo ja gu pe jun sen te tene lu zhong na za zhang se ta ti long ten zo long rak pa ten zo tene za ge no ni jo ge yo tene za ge no ne ya bo ko ra tu yo de bo ji ne jo tot na tene long tenzo tene tembo rabu yungu yuwarela tene te tsagano devo da chichine majuna tene te chi medewan rabu yungu yuwarela junsin teacher na tene tsade tangbo luji nangdo yebe ta long jo ge tsa tenzo tangbo siena tene long tenzo tangbo jo ge yuware tene tsa tenzo tangbo ndo ge tabla kari chi gugule siena lu de tangbo sangna luji nangdo yebe tsa tenzo yung tangbo ndo ge yuwarela tene lu de jojo ndabo ta medewan rabo changna tene tela tene tsa tenzo yung te chi jojo ndabo ndo wa yimbe cherna lu chong na tsa tang na long tang si tene long de tangbo jo ge yuware.
When there is motion in our mind, all sorts of motion and things that happen in our mind happen because of the winds. Likewise, with our bodies, any time that we move about with our bodies, this happens because of the various types of winds that are in our body. And these winds can be either coarse or they can be subtle. And so there are the coarse winds of breathing in and out. And then there are the somewhat more subtle winds that move through the body. And then there are the very subtle winds of the mind. And so in this way, there are these different types of winds that we have that are in varying degrees of subtleness or coarseness, but they are all connected. They're all connected to each other. And so for that reason, it is important that we have the understand the points of the body posture very well, and that our body posture be good because of these connections. And so in order for our minds to be straight, for our minds to be stable, then our winds also need to be straight. They need to run straight throughout our bodies. And in order for that to happen, we have to have the channels be straight. If the channels are not straight, if the channels are a little bit crooked or uncomfortable in any ways, then then the winds are also sort of crooked and uncomfortable, and this is it creates disturbance in our mind. So in order to make our channels straight, we need to hold our bodies straight. And so if our body is twisted or uncomfortable, then the channels will not be straight. The channels will also be twisted, and we will not, it will be uncomfortable, and the winds will also be twisted and not flow straight. And so in order for the winds to flow straight, we have to straighten the channel and the body, the channels and thus the body. And if we do sit straight, then the bodies will, then the winds will become straight.
Tene ta teacher na tanda tene tsaatana longchang na tene semtea tangpo roa yinpe cherna tene chitange tsaate tangpo lu de tangpo ro tabla lu nang nong kichu dain te jage yuwarela ta te tangkantapo dain yuwarela ya tangkantapo dain yuware te yinaya kashi tene men kashi rangin ke yang di nang nong kichu dain jamata bandapo nang nong kichu dain jie na debo me bandapo 다 tin데 용기 요래라 되네 텐조 랑힌 그 코란야 티 네탄 카리 이나 디타인도 야바마도 미살 그 인치 민치 나노 그추 다인다 루 데보 요나 나노 그추 다인자레마도 루라 데좀 데보 메바 마데 완다보제 요나 되네 디인치 민치 나노 그추 다인제나네 dombote 차상 메나야 ndrige ware la tene karirese na ta tanda sundu tela lusem dembole roase lusem debo se tene drama drapa chumma drapa ta te chum jabanda bo tsir jabanda bo mai ba ke tene tene gom jabna debo yum ware.
And so, in order for the winds to be straight, the channels must be, if the channels are straight, then the winds will be straight. And then if the winds are straight, then the mind will also go straight. And so in order to do this, we need to sit in the meditation posture. And this is usually talked about as the 7-point posture of Vairochana. And so there are these 7 points that we count, and there are these 7 different points. Now, for some people, they can sit easily in this posture and easily and comfortably, naturally. They're able to do that. But some people are not naturally able to do that. And so if you're not able to naturally sit in all 7 points, it's not absolutely necessary that you sit with all 7 points. You can do what you can, sit as you can. You sit in the way that is comfortable for you. And so what it says here is that we need to sit here in a way with our mind that is comfortable and free. So we need to sit with our bodies and minds comfortable and free. And in order to do this, we need to make sure that we are not tightening too much with our body, nor that we are gripping too much with our body, but that we just sit relaxed and free.
Tene ta tejendo ta zoonda bote galsik thangbursang se ta lu thangbursang cherto galsik thangbursang sungli wadela tene te lu thangbursang wate tene ya galsik devu me panda bota tene ina cheparchero yo madela tene teacher na thangbo galsik thangbursang wata tene nipate tene kangba chiltung sembe chiltung singete ma denlan do ne gomna de si semba de tembo da bo yung yo ya de ta bo do matum kin yo na tene ko cha tan la de ne gomna ya galwa chi do yo ma re.
The first of the 7 points is that we keep our spines straight. And so we sit with a straight spine. Now, this, in order to keep our body straight, and we need to have a straight spine. But if this is something that is not comfortable for you, that is not possible for you for whatever reason, then there's no particular problem with it. You need to sit as is comfortable for you. But it is important, if you can, to try to keep the spine straight. So that is the first point, to have a straight spine. The second point is to sit with your legs crossed, or in what is called the sattva, or the posture of the being or the hero. And the reason for sitting this is that if you sit down in this cross-legged posture, then this is a stable posture. Your body will be stable. Now, if this is not comfortable, if you are not able to do this, there is no real problem about sitting in a chair. So it is okay to sit in a chair and just sit as you can comfortably.
Tene ta tejendo lapa nyamyo sungri ware lapa nyamyo sena chitang ta kosola lapa nyambaryo de ta pankala tene lapa yembe tendo yeba yo ni nyambaryo ba ta te pa me ki gutonda bujela lapa nyamyo sungri ware re te ina ya ta sek nguma ga on de sena tene nyambar yo se du tene che tomi me ba nda buje Rela, tene lagba ye namkala char yamba sala yo yapanda boje ye na ta nyamba marela tene ti nyamba sina chipa na kin sena tene sanla namto mambo menjo a te lu ge zolo mo ge ba yembe sena ta laba bu mu tendo nyamba yo na ya digi ware.
The third point is that the hands should be placed in equanimity, or in the position of equanimity. And so here, in the way that we normally understand this, this is sitting with your hands in your lap, with your left hand below your right hand, in the posture that the Buddha Amitabha sits in. However, if you look at the word equanimity, sitting with the hands equally, what this means is that they're placed equally, that there is not any really difference of higher or lower between the hands, and so it's not a situation where you put your right hand up in the air and your left hand down on the ground. If you did that, that would be out of balance and it would cause a lot of thoughts to happen. And so rather than that, you place your hands on an even level, on an equal level. And if you do this, this will help pacify the flow of thoughts.
Tene ta te yendo ndamba te se ko sung ge ore la ta tin ndamba te rang yin che ku pa yin bi chen na tene ndamba te thang bur sang na nam to mang bu chu ge jin da bo yong chen na te ma yin ban ndamba te se ko tene ta te yendo za wa mai te ta che tene ta sen nam to long ge jon da bo che lan thog yo re tene te mai te yongul mambo siena tene ta tela tene nam to mambo char ge yo re la tene mai te karata.
The fourth point is about our throats. And so it says here that our throats should be slightly bent. And so we naturally have a slight curve or a slight hook in our throat. So we should just let that be as it is. If we try to keep our necks and our throats too straight, then that will cause too many thoughts to happen. And so we slightly bend your throat or slightly bend your neck. And then the fifth point is the eyes, sort of the root of the eyes. And if the eyes are not, if the eyes are, so the eyes are like a gate which leads to a lot of thoughts. If we are seeing too many things with our eyes, then this is the cause of many thoughts to arise. And so for that reason, we just look straight ahead.
Tene tatanda telaya chitang ngaranso sungtu la muti chombi jendo ta se tene muti pala so pa ta nangpa sangji pa main pa tinju ge tawala ta chitang hla je yor hla la solwa ta de du hla la ro le pa ta mo song de tene hla de ka yor se na hla de nangka la yo pa la samne ya nangka la ya ta ne gong ge la tene tejando nyentu pa namjin turdu ta se nyentu pa namji tene khande song ge ware se na te ji man turdu ta ne tangaran namto mambo je gre tene nyamong ba je gre somne ya chen ta wa mai ba turdu ta ne te sole ki ra mata wa je ta ge tene tanda doji jinji tekarta se ta doji songho doji tipe la tene ngaraso je tanda chitang hine gomba kap tong long tong gomba kap kana ina ya tekarta ne tene te ta sunne la tene te na tong zong ta gure tene song.
And so here, as is said in a saying, the outsiders look up to Brahma's realm, and so the outsiders, the non-Buddhists, believe that there is a God Brahma, and that God is someone whom they need to pray to, and that God is up in the sky. And so when they meditate, they look up to the sky, but that is not what we do. And then it also says, the listeners look down to pacify thoughts, and so the listeners or the Shravakas in Sanskrit, the people of the Theravada tradition, look down to because they're afraid that if they look up, they will see too many things, and many thoughts will arise, many afflictions will arise, and so for that reason they look down. But here, what is said for the secret mantra tradition is that Vajra eyes gaze straight ahead. And so the Vajra eyes, we look straight ahead. We look directly ahead of us, and we look a little ways, directly at a little ways in front of our nose.
Tene ta te tabu ta tene che yakin le jar se ta che yakin le jar wati nam tu thabo menjung che to la che yakin la majar na chima mambo yong ten chima mai ya nam tu che ta tende yung ge wara la te me yung che to la che yakin la jar ne ta gom te number non ze ge chu dai se tene zo te ta tende lu te debo ndabo che Chitang luni number 9 de Jagi Yore. Jagi Yore de Yinaya, Tini Hachang Drama Yapa, de Kalchegi Yore la, Tini Tia Magic Labji Drama Gusona, Luni Zai Lepachi, Sele, Kangbata, Lakbag, Pumbata, Tati Marshal Tenzo, Drama Yapa, Dhamma Yapa, Tini Pe Lepo, Sine, Gomjeju de Kalcheware.
The last point is that we need to, we should join or touch our tongue lightly to the upper palate. And so if we touch our tongue to the upper palate, then we will not have too much saliva. If we have a lot of saliva accumulated in our mouth, that makes us think a lot. And so if we touch the tongue to the upper palate, you will not have too much saliva accumulate in your mouth. And so these are the 7 points of the posture of Vairochana. And so here, the most important thing is that the body be comfortable. That is what is most important. And because if the body, it's important that your body not be too tight. This is as the teacher Mahamudra Ladran said. So the 4 branches of the limbs should be loose, and so you should allow the limbs to be very loose, very relaxed. They should not be too tight or clenched in yourself, but rather you should be able to sit in a very comfortable and relaxed posture.
Tene ta te yendo tanda gombe kapso ta ti ge lu gen du tang ra bo te ta tene sem ge ya thap la chitang ge tanda chitang ge san ya tha je do tene che ro kuran san zung ge thap ti number 2 yo re la tina ne tang bu chitang ge san ya be ge thap la tene tanda 단단 대비 지미지 테니 다치당 강아라서 뒤준도 당험하게 대비게 값만보 성기요레데 단다 검잡 값라 대마삼바 대게 디지스히도 만랑와체 테니 마음바인다이 마소 성기요레라 마음바인다이 마소 세도 당아라서 뒤준도 다 산이 나니 다와지마 로지마 괜찮지만 뭐 여기요레데 이나요 검잡깔라 마음발라요 손로마동 대가리에서는 대바도 마음바니디 대바데 코란 로차와 마음바데 단다 지요 말에 다 가리요아레스나 다다와티기 히바데 다다와티기 히바텔라 다다와 히바 깨지마 용게요아레라 데네 데라 코란 조주마지나 대가 장나 데네 디게 데 남도게 히라지스 랑요 말에라 데네 단다 ngaranso tei tamjigen nando soma sinkin da bosomwa soma sinkin de sarba nangin tanda jiba de dagara mato teni teje re ni re somne nando ge zoju ma jiba de la soma sungi warela de tabo la nyambar ga ba de ta hini chitang ge ga da.
And so those are the points of resting your body. And then in terms of the points for resting your mind, here there are 2 types of points. There are the general points, and then there are the specific points of how to rest your mind. And so there are these 2 points, the general and the specific. And first we have the general points of resting your mind. And so these are described in the instructions as in the saying as do not follow after the past. And so what often happens is that we think about the past, last year, last month, last week. Quite a few of our thoughts are about the past, things that have already happened. But when we are doing meditation, we should not think about the past. It also says that we should not welcome the future meanings. So often we think about what we're going to be doing in the future, next week, next year, making plans for what we're going to be doing in the future. But we should not sort of welcome those thoughts. We should not follow after those thoughts in any way. Rather than either following after the past or welcoming the future, we should rather just rest in in the present. And the reason is that the past has already gone by and the future has not come yet. And so what we are left with is the present. And so in this present moment is something that we just look at, and when we see that there is not much. It's just something that happens, goes moment to moment, and so it just goes by with each moment. And we sort of just look at that directly, or we train in that directly. And we do not really follow after any thoughts. So in all of the instruction manuals, it says that we need to be fresh. The Tibetan word here is soma, that you might have heard about. The word is fresh, and this means it's sort of something new. It is something that's newly happening, and we just need to look at that directly, just as it is. And in that way, we practice the tranquility meditation.
Tene ta tige ngui la ta chunten dai ye benane tangbatre. Ngui la chitang hine lang to ni hine la chunten dai dai ye benane tangbatre la. Tene ta teji so ta sero to gamdu te la tene tangbo ta meki ji so ne gangge ware la. Meki ji so ne gamdu te la ta gamtap dabo. Tande chasan inchi minchi magam na yam digre kande tabde na yam digre songare kapna la dain song yore la tene mada pa himbo deu la sensen ba ta che ngupo chunchun che la sensen ba tene takpa inna tembe ko sanji chiko chunchun che la sensen ba tene tejendo che marme chunchun che la sensen ba ta tene ta puga 부간다고 똥배차 남카 춘춘 제라 sensen바 다 예 되네 다 디다인도 단다 히테니 somye 디다인도 되네 다 단다 산지 지구순도 중고 이게 엄거보다 아마르보다 홍음보성라 sensen바다 nga tene ta tejen ya yege ngus maina ya tile karpo sanje je koi ngo de tile karpo song ngo de tile marbo tu ngo de tile ngambo de ta number 2 iskala ta te ta bu ga zu thu la sensen ba ta te ka de kahi je na yanda kahi maje na yanda tene tela mai pa ta titendo number job capsule kandi go gresena tene ta pe na sanji ji ko la sense ba ta ba je na sanji ji ko de yabo mendo sanji ji ko la de ba ji go gre so ndabu tinde go ne mai ba tene kora kan ina ya me gin thon so tele make ken thon te ta nyam to tene sem ji number to ba te ti ta indo trene te pa ma to tene nam to yin chi ra man tro wa ta ti ta indo me ta make number hi ba ta tene yi ji number hi ba ni nyam do ye ban ra ba te ya ha cha drum ya ba ma yin ba le po sine tene number ya tene te yang tanda nangdo yin de harna yang te la jan de matawa yang jar to ti ta indo nyambar ya pa ta tin de go ne gom bi
The portion of the describing the actual practice of tranquility meditation has 7 different sessions, and so there are 7 different sessions or points here. They're called points in this translation, so sessions is a bit more literal. And so there are sections on tranquility meditation and sections on insight meditation, and for tranquility meditation there are 7 different points. And so that completes the first of these points. Now, next in particular is the particular discussion of use of following the eye, using the eye. So it says here, focusing on a visual object. And so here there are several different visualizations that are given, but you don't necessarily have to do them all. It's not absolutely necessary to do every single visualization in order, or follow every single focus in order. But there are these several different things to focus on. And so the first thing to focus on is something small, a small impure object such as a stone or rock. This is something that is small and easy to focus on. Secondly, there is the focusing on a pure object, like a statue of the Buddha, the body of the Buddha. Then there is also, you can focus on a butter lamp or a candle. You can focus on a hole, so that is the first 4 of these. And then you can focus on the essence of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddhas, which are the seed syllables Om Ahung, which are over there. And then also you can focus on small little drops, white, red, and blue drops that are the essence of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddhas. And so in this way, there are 6 different types of objects that you can focus on in your tranquility meditation when using your eyes. And so when you are doing this, all that you do is just let your mind rest loosely, relaxed on this object, just merely without being distracted. If you are meditating, focusing on the statue of the Buddha, for example, then it's not something where you think, oh, this is a nice statue. This is the body of the Buddha. This is a wonderful thing. I should generate faith, or I should not generate faith. It's not like that at all. Rather, you should just see it with your eyes. You should merely see it with your eyes, and you should not really follow many thoughts. You shouldn't have any other thoughts that you follow. You should just rest with your eyes and don't go after any other thoughts. And so here you just look at it. You let yourself rest on it, not too tight. Let your eyes rest on it, not too lightly. So it's just loose and relaxed. Rest everything loose and relaxed with your attention upon this. And if you get distracted, then just bring your attention right back to it. And don't see that as a fault, but just return your attention back to it and once more do the meditation.
Tene ta tela te tabu chirul ge yul jiten do nyambri kaba rela tene ti kapsula ya zo kan kalche ge yore se na temba tene temba te kalche ge yore temba sinking te kan re se na ta tanda ngaran so chitang ge semda semjung number 2 ye banane semjung temba te tu jundu chitang ge temba ti yore yore di na temba di hu cheshun yore temba di yasa yore temba sinkin de maji pa tini di temba di yalsona tini di ngu san tesa de ji ro yore di temba de tanda di yona tini di kan ina yo maji ba yung yore tini tanda ngu ni hinni gomba ka sala kan kal che yore sena temba de kal che yore temba de tangaran gom jab ge yoba sende namdo on the hormeni ba sambanda bo che temba de hyog endu tani yoba de la temba se ge yore la tini te ya ngaran so tanda tembe jongso so sinkinda tembe jang rakata gayet jang sanaro so jongso so se de tene te se teka la zerde ba ma zerde ban da ba ma imba ko de ban da ba ma imba tene jane tane ta ko yen mini a sambanda ba te maji ba tene te jain taini ko kechi riri yendalo maji ba yang tung jela be temba yo yang temba te losona tene sent non to gon te korno yo adel temba te lepo je ngone jendo ye de banda ba jela jongso zo sena pena ngaransu nyuma da bo je yena soba nyuma nyuma da bo je yena tene ti nyuma te danda judi na tene te korang leka karichege bada hakok marba nyuma spy tene danda si jodina thong marba thong marla tati pha sa phonang ro tene jani ta ko karichege do ya lo ndo mai ba ko kawa do ko karichege do jani ta na te yabu yung kra tene ko ne su cha sang thong ge wa te jang so si jani ta tene temba ti yen ro ge ndo 다 단다 인게만도 sampanda보 다 tin데 텐자 하장 그 절대 반다보 많이 봤던데 거
So this is the meditation on an external object. Now, what is primarily important in this is mindfulness. So mindfulness, I'm going to make a comment about the word here. The word mindfulness, here we're using it in the sense of having remembrance, so remembering something. So mindfulness. So here what is most important is that we have mindfulness and that we maintain this mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is between either mind or mental factors. Mindfulness is the mental factor of mindfulness, or the mental factor of memory. And this is something that we have with all of our different minds. Every cognition that there is some degree of mindfulness or mind that happens at sometimes, but sometimes it is very strong, and sometimes it is very weak. And so sometimes when it is when the mindfulness is very weak, then we sort of lose ourselves to our thoughts. We get distracted. We can't remember what we're doing or whatever. And so it is important when we're meditating that we maintain our mindfulness. It is important that we keep our mindfulness strong so that we do not lose ourselves to thoughts. And so if we have this mindfulness, this remembering of what we are doing, then this is what we need. And so that is what we mean when we say mindfulness. Now, this is often given as an example, or there is often an example given of how we need to maintain our mindfulness. And it is said that we need to post our mindfulness like a sentry. And so it's not like something where we need to be really tight and really looking directly at it, mindful of everything that's happening, but rather it's like a sentry, that we post the sentry from kind of far away. And if you put the sentry far away, then he can see everything from a long distance. And so, and he can get a good picture of everything that's happening. If he's right up close, then he can only see that little tiny bit that he's seeing, but from far away, he can see everything. And so in the same way with our mindfulness, if we try to look and hold on to each moment, say, this moment I'm being mindful, this moment I'm not being mindful, this moment I'm being mindful, here I've gone distracted again, being mindful like that. If we try to do it like that and we're too tight about it, then it's not going to work. We should just rather let our mindfulness be loose and relaxed, looking at it as if from far away, like this sentry who's looking at everything from far away. It's like a spy. if you have a spy and you send the spy too close in, the spy is not going to be able to get a good idea of everything that's going to happen. And so the spy sort of waits on the outskirts and sort of looks here and there and sort of gets an idea of everything that's going on from a distance. And then they can give you an accurate idea of everything that's happening. They can give you an accurate picture of what's happening. And so it's like this sentry or this spy that is looking at you from a difference. And so it's the same thing with our mindfulness. It's just keeping it there from a different distance and being aware, am I practicing, am I distracted, am I not distracted, and just being very loose and very relaxed about this. This is not something where you should try too hard to be mindful.
Tene tateya ngara pelondode tene jami yong tene nyuma taonrela tene tangbo tang ngarang lungbala legre sani legre se timet ledio tene ko kana dewoimbe kandido yaboduwe tene sani ko ya nyomdo tene ko 사실 견다지는 로기 세비어데 옛날 냠도 해대요. 제가 드닝아 야나 데데데 야 코프니 론데스가 나 드링 코프니 론데스가 야 드링 코파자 포니 론데스가 생겨도 딱바 여바 야가 산인 로기 다 산인 론데데라 팔론도고 야코 냠도 드링 야 디사자트나 레딩글레 나라서 카히 통요 코야 사샤트니 론데스가 데코 장니 따니 가르치기도 따게요 베테전도 템바가 가르치기도 대종니 하자 덤가 보면이봐 코 테카 따나 템바테 말라파 코 카두 이나트나 요나테 코 통그라 텐라보제 라 템비 종소조.
It's like when Rinpoche went to Tibet this summer. The Chinese government sent along a spy to and so on the first day that he got there, the spy came up and said, "Oh, hello, how are you doing? Are you all right? Is your health okay?" And asked sorts of questions like that. And then he said, "Oh, I'm going off over there tomorrow." And then he sort of showed up tomorrow, the next day, and then he'd say, "Well, maybe tomorrow I'm going over there," and so then then he'd show up again, and then Rinpoche would say, "I'm going someplace," and he'd say, "Well, maybe I'll go someplace else," but then he'd show up anyways, and he'd always sort of keep an eye on what was going on. He was just always sort of always there, always looking and seeing, trying to see what was happening from far away. And so everything, he was always coming along and looking at that. And it's in that same sort of way that we need to keep our mindfulness, just always sort of present, always looking, not too tight, keep it relaxed. And then if you do it in that way, you'll be able to tell everything that's happening, and you'll be able to, and so it'll turn out quite well.
Teni, terin tesam chena terin hinege meeting in dorela, meeting tambota nipa in dorela. Terin tesam chena terin trawana kena trawana.
We will leave it here for today, and so we have covered the first two topics, or the first two sessions, on the tranquility meditation. So in your text, it's the essential postures of body and mind, and focusing on a visual object that we have covered. So we have covered these first two sessions, and now if these first two sessions about tranquility meditation. And now if anyone has any questions, please ask.
Rinpoche, thank you for coming. You had just mentioned your visit to Tibet, and I was wondering if you might just take a minute and share, other than the spy, how was your visit?
Kita ngara pela ndogu pate tene tawa nija lo zamji yore rela tene tela getsul tang gelong ka damba matba ma chi hyo dabu yore rela tene te getsul tang gelong ka damba matba la tene ta ngara so gambala yani ta tene sojung ta tene goye si ta tindroa ge la te goge yore la tene nani lo te la tene tanda yani tsu matbare taba mambo damba hyuga ba mambo me bala tene ta ti damba te nangu gre tene damba te ngarang nangu gre sone tene talo ndroa che ta tene te yendo ngarang so mani ge duba ji tsugi yore lo takpa tsugi yore ta kaba ngamo pe yabu yore la tene te chisu yang ya lasu tene yabu tsugi yore yabu tsugi yore la tene te chai longlin tenzo pe yabu yore te ina ya tene trava saba chan chan sung te wang hiro yomare la tene te la wang jeba che nangi yen samba ngamo ni chong sung tene te wang te na matupa che tene talo che introdu te la ti tanda kinri se mani duking wang te tang tene tanda getsulung damba na ya ti ni tanda la tangara yin ji min jin ro gu do samba se ne ro re la tene te la pe ti tanda te yenda tanda kaya yo ma re la tene ti ni tanda te ya bun do yo re.
The reason that Rinpoche went to Tibet this year is that there are over 200 monks at the monastery at Thrangu Rinpoche in Tibet. And of these, there are quite a few who have not attained the Shramanera, or the novice vows, or the Bhikshu vows, the fully ordained vows. And so Rinpoche primarily, and because there are so many people who have not attained these vows, who have not received these vows, they would be difficult for them to do the summer retreat, or to do the poshada, or the confession practice that they're supposed to do on the full and noon moons, or to do the gae practice, it's called in Tibetan, the opening up at the end. It's the end of the Yarna summer retreat. And so these are three rituals that are talked about in the Vinaya that are really very important, but that they really wouldn't be able to do at the monastery there because there weren't enough people with the vows. And so Rinpoche went there in order, soon in the summer they wanted to be able to hold a summer retreat, and so Rinpoche went there in order to be able to give these people the vows. He had been to Tibet before, but he had not been able to grant any vows at that time. And the same, similarly, every year at Thrangu Choling in Tibet, they hold what is called a grand puja, or grand mani puja. And so this is a Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara puja that in the past was a great event. It was a wonderful, they always held it very well. And in later years, they have also been holding it, and they've also been doing a good job with it. But there are many people at the monastery who have not yet attained, or had not had the empowerment for that particular puja. And so it didn't have as much power or force, power for it. And so he decided it's necessary to go and give this empowerment of Chenrezig so that they could have this annual Grand Mani Puja. And so it was for these reasons that Rinpoche felt that he must go to Tibet. So these reasons of granting the vows and giving the empowerments. There weren't any other reasons for why he went, but these two reasons were why he went, and both things turned out quite well.
Tene tate tavatsola damba tinzo yapo si nang to banda bata. tene tejendo tanda tene tujijimbo kinreze go on tela tene kitang kinreze yembala tene tela sonji tong kalsong sonji tong c'est tanda ngaranzo kalbandala sonji tong sempre ta loju ya pa yembe sonji tong on rela tene sonji tong on tela pe mema tenzo gaboje tene memambole tene taten tanda tene me trinizam te on tela re la tene tela jitang ke memombo njoro kapsula tene pe changkaja tene me kahi zer kahi kangbacho tene yongre va te ina ya talo me kanga tenhi poe sene tene je ne panda bo kanya majongwa tene kanga deboche tene tanda tene policy tanking tenso lai kanga ri hiro meba rabu debo yabu hiro chongso.
And so Rinpoche was able to give the vows to all the monks. It turned out well to have the monks receive the vows. And he also was able to give the Chenresi or Avalokiteshvara empowerment. And so in terms of this empowerment, there are the 1,000 Buddhas of our fortunate eon that there are. And so this is the story, the history of these 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. And the essence of the compassion of all of them is Chenresi. And so this is a very important empowerment. And it's one that the general population has a great deal of faith in and a great deal of interest in. And so many people came to the empowerment. There were about 20,000 people who came to the empowerment. So they have a lot of faith and devotion, and they all came. And often when you have that many people come to an empowerment, you have a lot of pushing and shoving. You have a lot of, particularly with Kampas, you have a lot of pushing. Rinpoche didn't say that. That was me. Sorry. You have a lot of pushing and shoving, and so it's possible that people will get angry and get in fights, or that people will break their legs or things like that. But this year, none of that happened. There weren't any. No one got hurt in any way. It all turned out really quite well. Everyone was very happy with the empowerment, and even the Chinese police had an easy time taking care of everyone who was there. And so no one had any difficulty at all.
Tene policy tenzo tene mig doni on hyo chogyo mare on hyo chogyo mare tene ya tene memang kanga wanang sadu tene kola kale yongde konzo la wanang ro chi kangpanal yanzu ne tene yongdo.
And so the Chinese police, they weren't allowed to take the empowerment. They weren't supposed to take the empowerment, but when everyone had gone through, they all sort of slipped into the building and said, "Please give us the empowerment."
Rinpoche, the 7 points of Vartana posture also appear in the Ocean of Definitive Meaning. And when I was taught that, there was a point of posture where you're not quite relaxed, but your shoulders are supposed to be like a vulture, slightly like that. And you never mentioned that. And I would just like to get some clarification of that part of the posture.
Nananji chudu nana de ponde so de guitar ya kyagra pumpo mali ya kurse de sumre ngeran jasna sumre tring Rinpoche dende sumare de kollate sunaro na
다치당 그 때지 만다와 요래라 되네 턱바데 인디지 제 턱바 인디지 거기가 보면 인디지 봐 야 쪼야 말해 야 쪼 안 났어 Indi is Pateka, Sanji Kolata, Indi never your mother, Indi never your money. Teach it, Tatanda Kahigan, Tumo Ya Sang Yabanda, your Inaya, the make a Koda, Tensolatana, Tumoti, Tekala Yana. Tini, Tindis in the Tela Misalga, Mayana and Digiorella, Tini, Takpati, Joya Tinamari.
So there are many different. There are different variations on these excuse me. There are different variations of this instruction in different manuals, and different things describe it differently. But here, in general, what it is that you should keep your shoulders sort of back like this. You shouldn't be hunched forward like this, but rather let your shoulders be open and back. So open your shoulders like that. It's not a question where you lift your shoulders up like that, but rather let them go really relaxed and back, and be open and back. And so this is like if you look at a statue of the Buddha, this is how the shoulders of the Buddha are. So you look at that. Now it's not something where you need to lift them up. If you look at a statue of the Buddha, you also see, in some instructions it says that you should lift your elbows out, but here it's not necessary to do that. It's not necessary that you do that. If you look at a statue of Amitabha, for example, Amitabha's shoulders are hanging straight down, and so you can let your elbows hang straight down.
Rinpoche, this morning what I heard was that you emphasized that we really need to know the difference between a meditation experience, a direct experience of the nature, and an inferential or contemplation experience, that we shouldn't confuse the two, and that we really have to know the difference. But then I also heard you say that if we worry about whether we're having a recognition experience or not, that's an obstacle to recognition. So my question is, how do we know for sure if we're having a direct experience or an inferential experience without creating an obstacle to recognition by worrying about it?
The Thrangu Rinpoche la Rinpoche ngosum gi nyamsu nyongwa ta ane jeba ge ngeshe deni gi yabo shinche gres. Today gi kebre yabo haku gres. Ine Rinpoche dema en Rinpoche gi tne de la ane central shira langamares. Central mambo langamares. De shira de sloto da. Central shira yuna de la ane dip da doyeres. De la ane musum do nyamsun yongwa tan jeba ge ngeshe deni shinche la de kandeche de flopo tan ane central mepa chegares.
Ngesum ge nyamsun yongwa te kapkala ngesum ge nyamsun yongwa mare te ngeshi je imbada sambata ba kapkala ngeshi te ngesum ge nyamsun yongwa imbada sambata ba ta norsigre la tini te hiro norsayo mare tini sem ge ngeshi ge te ni ngaran su somlo tang ni ta tinde ji imbada sambata ba te ta ngesum ge nyamsun yongwa te Koran te ri nduga somni ngus ta perna mekin thonga nangi teni sem ke nyamsu nyone ta ti sem ke nelu te ri nduga somata boje ti ni te chitang norndo sa hira yo mare te ina ya te manurwa yapo si ta ti ngasum tanda nyamnyo re nde koare somba hakwa je kalche ge yo re teni tela sem hira Jim Yang Mare, Tako, Nyamsu Nyong Kabla, Sam Korang, Netang La, Tani, Tinitila, and the Zo, the Mare, some Zuga Bandaba Maimba, that in the Kobe or
It's possible that sometimes we might think that direct experience is just that the direct experience is sort of the what was I calling it this morning? The the certainty, the certain knowing, and where we might think that certain knowing is a direct experience. We might think that these two are the same, but actually, it's not difficult to distinguish them. There is not a whole lot of room for mistakes here. It's easy to keep them apart. There's really no. It's easy. It would be difficult to make a mistake here, and the reason is that when the sort of certain recognition that we have, that's what I was saying this morning, the certain recognition that we have is sort of thinking, oh, that's probably what it's like. It's like this. And the direct experience of saying, that is it. That's what it is. And so it is saying, it's like seeing something with your eyes. And you say, that's it. You don't have any question about it. That's it. That's exactly what it is. And so there's really no way to be mistaken on here. You can really know. It's easy to tell. There's no way to be mistaken about the difference between the two. And so it is important that we generate this experience, and that we know that this is how it is, and that's it, and we try to generate that, and we try to also need to keep that separated from the thoughts of it's probably like this, that sort of certain recognition. So we need to be able to tell these two apart. And when we are doing this, it is important that we do not really tighten our mind too much. We just look directly, just see directly how it is, and we don't try to modify it or alter it in any way.
Rinpoche, many times this week you've talked about devotion, and I wonder, in the lineage chant, we pray that genuine devotion will be born within us. So I wonder if you could describe beginning devotion, and then how it progresses, and what it's like when it's pure and full devotion. And also, what would devotion be that was not genuine?
Kachudina Rinpoche mugugi kola mambo sungres. Tene dela doje chang tumala chimingi mugu kiora sho kiora jinjilo sungre. Tene de chimingi mugu de karing sungres. Le tambobegi mugu de karing sungres. Le tambobegi mugu ne chimingi mugu de kandikegres. And what was the last part of your question?
What would devotion be like that is not genuine? As we pray for genuine devotion, how could we tell?
Tene German maimpegi mugu de kandenas.
다 단다 주미 무분다 보지나 당하라서 또빠질라 지위기서도 무구지고 다 무구지와 등에 라마텔 대파도 무구지고 담배 주텔 대파도 무구지고 지구레 대체나 구바요레 편바요레 somne 되네 대파도 무구지 반다 보지나 주마르와 다텔라에 단다 레당보바이나 다단다 무기제구리 대바제기에 삼바다고 고니야 주마세나야 텔라 텔란 데부 용기요래 레데 있나야 운이 주마 마임비 무기세나 테네 제 존생 야보 제 히네 perna melarip namtaranda bocheda melarip ngurunda boche tana o lamati cheparchinchiri son tepa ranking nga tepa che gu samba maimpa ranking ki che yong atela chuma maimpa mugu sekra chuminji mugu teni tanda chumi mugu de yangbo mangbo sena teni ranking tepa che ta tanda shaja chimpi topa che ate topa cheparchin jila chepate yapoyen te cheparchin kala chembore sombe tepato mugu chimbo chepate la chuma maimbe mugu se chumi mugu chewar sinji lob sinkete te insare
What we'd call contrived or ungenuine. Contrived devotion is when you think to yourself, I need to be devoted, I need to feel devotion, I need to generate devotion. The Lama is someone good and I need to feel devotion for the Lama. The Dharma is something that is beneficial for me, so I need to have faith in the Dharma. I need to have devotion in the Dharma. If I have this devotion in the Dharma, then it will be beneficial to me. And so we think in this way, and this is what we call the contrived, or the not disingenuous, the ungenuine devotion that would arise in us. And so this helps us generate faith, it helps us generate the devotion, and it is something that will bring a result, it will create a result. The genuine, or more literally you could say uncontrived, the actual Tibetan word would be literally translated as uncontrived devotion. The uncontrived devotion is a devotion that we know, it just naturally arises. It's because we already know the reasons, we already know the need, and it just naturally, the devotion arises in us. For example, we might be reading the biography of Milarepa or the songs of Milarepa, and we know, oh, these are wonderful songs, these are wonderful stories, these are important Dharma teachings, and naturally we feel this devotion that arises. And so that is the uncontrived devotion. It's what comes up naturally. And so we begin with this sort of contrived devotion and work with the contrived devotion. Then it naturally will become the uncontrived devotion. It naturally will turn into this. And so we'll know, for example, we'll know about the benefits. We'll know that the Great Seal is a good thing to meditate, a good practice to do. We know that it is a superior practice, that it is beneficial, that it will bring us a great result. And as a result of knowing that, then we have a lot of devotion, we have a lot of interest in it. And so this is the uncontrived devotion. And so this is what we are praying for when you are saying that uncontrived devotion may be born in me, please bless me.
Okay.
se